Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. This call will be a very basic introduction to using TacticalPad. It can be interactive at the end if you have any questions, but essentially it's just to show the basic functions of TacticalPad, how to use it, how to create sessions, how to create animated sessions, and some of the other features of the software. Now, TacticalPad has a lot of amazing and wonderful things that you can do with TacticalPad. I know people that use it for a lot of very, very different things. I can only show you what I use it for personally. It's been a fantastic tool for my planning, delivering and learning from sessions and sharing sessions with other people in the soccer world where I coach. But I know people that use it in other sports. I know people that use it for analysis and opposition analysis and to feedback to their players. I know people that use it for one-on-one sessions with their players to show them something quite tactical. The main reasons that I use TacticalPad for planning sessions, reviewing sessions, and sharing sessions. So just to recap for anyone who has just joined us, it's a very basic introduction to TacticalPad, how to use it, and I'll show you what I use it for. But there is a lot of different things that you can learn from using TacticalPad. So what we have at the moment on the screen is the home screen. We'll just look at some of these functions. At the moment, we are in the menu tab, and what we can see here is new project. If you were doing something on this one, but you wanted to open another project, open project. If you wanted to open a TacticalPad file that you've used previously. And of course, when you're doing your work, you may want to save your work. And if it is the first time you're saving it, or if you're overriding something else, you would want to save as and name the project. And of course, you can save it in your documents and your downloads on your desktop, wherever you want. Within the settings, you can see your account information, so your login details, and you can also select the language, and you can do some other things here that you may want to test with when you're using TacticalPad. For example, at the moment I have it on full screen, and for example, I have removed the TacticalPad watermark, which is here in the center. So this is really just an area to try some different things with. But at the moment, I will just use the settings that I am comfortable with. What we also have is we have our field that we're going to use. So you might want a field that has thirds. You may want a field that has channels. You may want more of a practice field. In the field, you can use a baseline field. And as I said earlier, there are some examples in here of different sports that you may use if you're planning and using TacticalPad for different sports and different sessions. If there is a baseline field that does not suit your needs and you would rather it was something different, you can, of course, click on this one and you can select an image. So, for example, if we did not have an American football pitch or a rugby pitch, you may want to get a picture of a rugby field offline, and then you put that picture as your background and just use TacticalPad the same way that we're going to use it here. You can use half of the pitch. You can use the other half of the pitch. You can change the perspective mode, so it looks like this. You can also change the background to be black and white, which is something I use for planning indoor soccer sessions and futsal sessions. So there's a lot of different things we can do for the field. And at the moment, I'll just select this one just now. When we plan our session, and I like to plan my session in 2D, but when it's finished and when it's complete, particularly if it's an animated session, you may want to then view that session in 3D. So everything would essentially be the same, but you will see the players in 3D. And there's some more settings in 3D. You can select the size that the players will look on 3D. You can select is it women, is it children? And you can also change where the camera angle is coming from. So there's a lot of different things that we can do in 3D that we may come on to if we have time. So that is our menu and some of the different things we can do. Essentially selecting the appropriate field is probably the main thing for today's session. Of course, you could pick a blank field also. The other menu we have here is the tools menu. So this is obviously what we would use to start to populate the field that we have selected. So of course we can draw things with the straight line. We can draw things with a curved line, which would be select where you want it to go to and from, and then use this button in the middle here. That line may be an arrow, so you may want it to point. It may be a running line, for example, and it may be a line that you will draw freehand. When you draw whatever you have selected, that's what it will show. So you may want to just draw a straight line. You may want to draw a line that is not an arrow. And of course, you may want to change the color. So we can animate a lot in here. This is a different type of line, again, that we can draw. If we remove draw and we do a straight line, then this will draw the straight line for us. We can also change what size all of these functions will be. Make them bigger or smaller, change the color. We may also use dotted lines. Again, we can select any feature here. So it might be a straight line, this size, running like this, but this time we're going to select this a dotted line, and all of these things will apply. Maybe we take away this and we do this, all of these things will apply. And again, we can change the color to any color we wish. Now, when we draw and we draw a line that we don't want, we can select the rubber and we can remove lines that we don't want. If you want to start again, you can select this rubber and it will ask you, do you want to remove all lines? Not only do we have lines, we also have areas. So again, we can select what size we want the pen to be, a circular area or a square area. And do we want it to be filled in or do we want it not to be filled in? Do we want it to be a dotted line or not a dotted line? So for example, not filled in, not dotted line, filled in, not dotted line, dotted line, filled in. And again, we can change the colors and we can change it to a circle if we wish. So there's a variety of different options to draw on our field. And again, we can use the rubber to erase all of this. Of course, we can put lines on, but we can also put items on. So if we select items, of course, we can put footballs, cones, markers, mannequins, anything that we see in here can be dragged onto the pitch. They may look slightly different if we go back into menu and onto field. And if we were to use the field in this view, may look slightly different. But this is in tools, items, and we can drag any item that we wish onto the pitch. Again, if the item that you want is not here, you can add, and maybe you get an image of an item, and you can add that also. So, for example, this is an image of TacticalPad that I can bring on, and if I remove an item, you can double click that item and click remove, double click remove, or you can drag it off of the screen. You can edit the item also by double clicking. You can make the item bigger, make it smaller, rotate the direction, and you can copy the item also. So if I needed more coins, double click. If I needed 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll now have these 5 items. If I do not need them, double click, remove, or take them off the pitch. So this is how we add items, and this is how we add lines to our TacticalPad. One thing we may also want to add is text. So we click text, we click where we want to add it, and we type as normal. If we click here or somewhere else, menu for example, we can then move this text. If we double click, we can edit the text, we can make it bigger, we can change the background color, remove the background, or so I've now removed the background, or we can double click, we can add the background back but change the color of the background. So this is how we add text. Again, if you do not want the text, you can use the bin, the trash can function to remove, or you can slide it off. So if we go back into tools, that's how we would add text to the session plan. Make it bigger, remove the background, put it where you would like the text to show, then click off the text. Or we can add notes also. So when we have our lines and our items and everything that we want, we can add text in here for when we print off. But we'll come to this just a little bit later. We will also come to effects just a little bit later on. So hopefully that shows you how to add and remove lines and items. One of the key things you want to add and remove will be players. So we have TacticalPad will always show you the option to add two teams. We have the blue team here, and we have the kind of yellow team here. If we click on this team, then that team with its default settings will show down the bottom, and with the default settings we can move players onto the pitch. If we put someone where we don't want them, we can double click them, or we can just drag them off. If you want them all to be on automatically, you can click this button here, and for example 4-4-2, and they will come on this formation here. You can do the same with this team here, for example 4-5-1, and they'll come on here. The way they are shown at the moment is the default way for these players to show, but you of course can change how they will show. So I'm going to remove these players. Actually, we'll keep some of these players on. If I am clicked on the blue team here and I go into team settings, I can change that team. So for example, I might change the name of that team to Barcelona, and I may change the name of the other team to Manchester United. Of course, I can change the logo. So you may put the picture of the coach or the picture of the team's logo, the team's badge. And of course, you can change the colors that you would wish this team to be utilizing. And we can change the style. We can change the style of the jersey. So for example, and we can change the appearance. So if we select this appearance, for example, this is how the players will look. If we go back into team settings and we choose this one, for example, this is how the team would look. Now, if you want to use this one, you probably want to put in some more information. The names of the players, for example. So team squad. And if we select a player, you can obviously change all of the players. But if we make 10 Messi, you may want to select that player's position. This player will now show as 10 Messi, and you can do that for all the players. So again, team settings, everything on the left-hand side is one team, everything on the right-hand side is the other team. There are some advanced settings that we can do where we can actually select the player's photographs and put in some extra notes and information about that player. If we select their photographs, you may want to use this, for example, and we would see a photograph of Messi, his name and his number here. And we could do that for all the players, and we could do that for the opposition as well. And you might use this, you then go into tools, and you might use something like this to show something a little bit more tactical. You may add a ball, you may add some drawings and some lines. To try and explain or show something a little bit more tactical. So that's just one example of why you might use the teams. At the moment, we'll use an appearance like this. And I'm now going to show you something that I've created earlier, and we'll work off that one. So okay, I'm going to open a new project. And I'll now show you how I use TacticalPad. And hopefully when I create a session, you guys can see some of the mistakes that I might make and how I correct those mistakes, and how I will create a session on a day-to-day basis in my job as a coach. Full screen. So this is a session that I've created earlier, just using everything that we have discussed previously. So what I will do is, in boards, this is where we can add other elements to our session. So if we want to create another board, we simply add board, and that will add another one here. So that will be another component or another aspect to what you're designing. Or this is to copy a board, so we can use the same board. So once you have your static board, which is everything that's not animated, there's kind of two ways to create sessions. You can create sessions that don't move, they're not animated here, and we can create sessions that do move up here. Now, my process as a coach is I will use TacticalPad to create a static board. I will plan it so it does not move. I will then print that session plan. I will try it on the pitch, and if it worked really well, I will then animate it so next time I can see what happened. So we're going to go through that process now. So on the static boards, I've planned a session. I've brought in the players that I'm going to use. I've put in the lines to explain what's happening. I've changed my team settings so they appear the way I would like them to appear. I've put a picture of the coach. I've put a picture of TacticalPad. I'll maybe put just the coach's name here. And for example, TacticalPad. Okay. I've used the text function to add my name to this because sometimes I design session plans that are ideas I've seen from someone else, and I'll add their name. And also all I've done as well is I have used the notes to add what is going on in this session, so I know what is happening in this session. You can add some more advanced notes. So how many players are you using? How much space? What kind of intensity are you looking for? How long are you going to run it for? For example, if you don't like this setup, you can use the four corner setup where you may put in some technical information, some psychological, physical, and social information also. You may prefer it to look like this when you print your session plan, but I like it this way. So now if I was to share this session plan, so the board I'm on, I can share this as an image. I can share it as a document. So if I was to share it as a document, I would select, PDF, or if you want it to be a picture or JPEG image, and show how you would like this to appear. So for example, if I only want to show this current board, I may select JPEG, I may select this image here, and then it would likely ask me where I would like to save this on my computer. So I've now created this image with some notes, and I should be able to now be able to find where I saved it, which was my desktop, and look at this image. So this may be something that I print and take to my session plan. You can name your boards. So I named that one practice, but you might name it warm up, or practice 1, practice 2, practice 3, game related practice, whatever it may be. So I have my practice. I then have my progression. Again, there are some notes for the progression, and then I have a game that I'm going to finish on at the end, a scoreboard soccer game with some notes. So when I design this, with everything we've already looked at, how we add players, how we add items, how we add lines, I will then maybe share the full session. So this time when I click share document, I may select PDF. And instead of just having one section to show, I'll select this here that shows all sections. I'll name it session plan 1, sorry, example session. Okay, and it will ask me what I would like to include in this PDF. Some of the animated boards can of course be included, but I've not created any of them, so I want all 3 of my boards on the session plan. It will ask me where I would like to save it. Full session plan. And again, I'll just save this on the desktop. Now I will send that session plan to everybody who is on the call. But I hope this will give you an idea of what that would look like. So where I entered the team name or my name, where I saved the session plan as example session, the picture on the left-hand side shows what I drew on TacticalPad. The information on the right-hand side shows the text that I added. And I can also add this text at a later date. And I added 3 boards. So I added the practice, the progression, and the game. You may add more boards. You might use soccer board. You may use TacticalPad to create, a season plan instead of just a session plan. So you might have hundreds of boards that you put into one document and then share with your coaches. But I will share this session plan. So my process for TacticalPad is to create a static session plan like this. Then I will practice that session, and then I will animate that session. So that's what we'll do now. We will look at how we animate sessions. So if I go back to my first board, which I called practice, but if you click on it, you can rename it. And as I said, you can add other boards to design them. You can delete other boards if you add them by accident. You can copy boards. So this would be a copy of the board, and you can delete it. And you can turn boards from static into animated. So if you want to create an animated session, you can start here and design it and start to do animations. But my process is to start here, and then I will animate. So to animate in TacticalPad, we hit Tools. And just like we can add items and text and lines and players, we can also add animations. So if I want to add an animation to a static board, it will say, do you want to change this to an animated board? If you're already on animated boards, you won't get this notification. But if you try and change one of your static boards, they will just check that's what you want to do. I'll say yes. And now if I go into menu and select boards, I can see that my board that was a static board is now an animated board. And even though I've not animated it yet, if I wanted to share this as a document, it would ask me what boards I want to include. So I can still add animated boards into my session plans. The only difference now is when I click share, it will ask me if I want to share this as a video, because we are about to create a video using animation. So to use animation, we select Tools. To begin with, this button here is the most important button for animations. Every time we click this button, this will add another frame. So whatever you move within that frame, that is what is going to move within the video. So at the moment, the frames I am adding, they don't move anything. But in this frame, I'm going to do edit. I'm going to use the rubber. I'm going to remove these lines. I'm going to go back into animation. I'm going to add another frame where this player starts to run with the ball. So I want the player to move in this frame. I want the ball to move. And you'll see you have an option here to say if the ball is moving in the air or on the ground. I'm going to keep the ball on the ground. I want the player to move with the ball, so I'll move them on the same path. I want this player to start to move up the pitch. I want this player to move up the pitch. And I want this player to maybe come and engage the ball. And that should be everything. If I hit play here, that should be everything that was involved within this animation. You see, we had a couple of seconds of nothing was moving because I didn't move anything in the first couple of seconds. And then in the next couple of seconds, we had it moving. So I'm just going to animate this this session here very quickly, and hopefully that gives you an idea of what is going on. And everything that you move will also move. So if we look at what we've done so far, I've just moved a couple of different things. Every time you click that animation button, you need to click that before you move anything because it'll only ever remember the last thing that you moved. So we need to click animate, move things, animate, move things, animate, move things. I hope that makes sense. I'll just do one more here. So maybe I pretend to put the ball here, the defender comes, and then I go here. Then we move a little bit more. And then maybe we have a shot from distance. And perhaps on this shot, I want the ball to come off the ground. We can speed this up. So we can determine how slow or how fast we would like the animation to play. And I always think it's a good idea just to check your animation as you're going. Every now and then just hit play and make sure you've not made too many mistakes that you can't go back and change. I'm going to show you some ways that you can get your players to dribble the ball. So the way I'm showing is just one way of doing things. That's just one way that you might have your players to dribble the ball. But there is another way that we can do this also. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So maybe we want to do more complicated movements with the ball and more complicated dribbles with the ball. So like Messi or Ronaldo running with the ball in 3 or 4 different directions. So the way we can do that, and it doesn't have to be with the ball, it can just be all of our players moving more complicated. The frame that we're on, we can design the next frame. So this is a little bit more complicated, but the more you practice, the more we get it. And what we do is we hit edit and we use these lines to draw where we want the players to go. But because we're in animation and because we click on an item, it will know that you mean this is how I want it to move. So for example, if I hit this draw line here and I select the ball and I move the ball to go down this side, fake to go right, then come left and end up in the middle of the pitch, the ball is going to do that in the next frame because I've just drawn what I wanted to do in the next frame. It's important if you're dribbling, make sure you also select the player to run with the ball and go along the same path as close as you possibly can. It's okay if it's not perfect. And then you also need to do draw what are the other players doing as that's happening. So maybe this defender ran over, tried to win the ball, missed the ball, came back and kind of ended up behind the ball a little bit. Maybe this player went for an overlap, and maybe this player just came in at the back post. So they're slightly more complicated movements. And for example, now, if we hit play, we can see these more complicated movements. So we watch this from the beginning, and hopefully that makes sense. But it just takes some practice. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with these more complicated movements. So we can do small movements and small animations, or we can do a more complicated one like this, for example. And then maybe I just go back to small, less complicated movements again, just to finish the move off. And I'll just complete this by maybe showing one more complicated movement. So maybe on the next thing that happens is this player dribbles the ball in here. This player becomes a goalkeeper here. This player becomes a defender here. Maybe this player goes to that side this time, and this player goes to that side this time. And these three players should be coming off the pitch to wait for their next turn. So when you get comfortable and familiar with it, I think you can do things a little bit quicker. So we'll just watch the animation now, and this will almost complete this section. Again, we'll just watch this video that now should be completed. Okay, and when I finish this video, I may want to animate my entire session, or maybe I just want to share this video and show some of the other coaches, or share it on social media. So now when I go into menu share, I still have the option to put this into a document. It just obviously won't be a video, it will just be a picture of the video with the text that I drew earlier. I can still share it as an image as well, but I may want to share it as a video. It will ask me where I want to share, and you will export it as a video. If you have any questions, please put them on the chat, and hopefully I can try and answer. But this is mainly what I use TacticalPad for. For the coaches who are on the call, this session is working on overloading an attack. It's one that I have designed recently, delivered recently, and it worked well, so I genuinely need to animate it. So I thought I might as well do that while we're on this call. The 6 outfield players are outfield players. The 2 yellow players are both goalkeepers. The goalkeeper, when on the pitch, can use their hands. So they can dive at people's feet. They can dive to intercept footballs. It makes it a little bit more challenging for the 3 attackers. They're dealing with 2 goalkeepers, one on the pitch that can use their hands and one in the goal that can use their hands. And it's quite a good fitness workout for the goalkeepers as well. But essentially, as a coach, it's given me the opportunity to bed in some really basic stuff for my attackers when they have an overload. Get wide, play quick, be creative, etc. So that video would have saved where I saved it, and you can now watch that video back. I will just open TacticalPad again. I think we have a question. Okay, so it's a good question from Joshua, but I don't know. And this is actually my first time ever using it on a Mac because I had a technical issue, which was very typical when you're just about to do a webinar. So this is actually my wife's dad's Mac that I'm using. So I'm finding it a little bit tough just to understand how to use it. But the Mac seems very user friendly and really, really good. But I use it I have a Windows Surface Pro, it's called. So I use it on, I think it's Windows 10 that's on my Surface Pro, and it's really, really good. I've not found a platform or a system that it doesn't work well on. So I'm not sure. Do you ever use the animations to illustrate activities to the players themselves during a session? If so, how has that worked? Yeah, 100%. Let's just go on to that now, actually. So during sessions, for example, if you're lucky enough to have a Surface Pro or a tablet, you may line up your formation, you may put the ball here, and then you might just use touchscreen to ask the players, what did we work on? And when this player has the ball and they start to come in the pitch, what did we work on? And then you maybe ask the player who plays in this position to talk about the overlap, if that's what you worked on. You maybe spoke about when the player gets here and you're looking for your fullback to come up or for your whole team to come up. That's just one thing I've used TacticalPad for, and it's worked really, really well on. Is just to paint some pictures for the players, because it's like they're looking down on the pitch. Talk about front post, back post, edge of the box runs. Talk about getting balance so we didn't get on the counter attacks. It's a very, very good question, and my answer is 100% yes. I have used TacticalPad to show the players this. Good question. Just looking to see if we have any other questions. Okay. Okay, my computer's just loading. We'll just be a second. I'm going to go and show one more thing. Okay, this is me just getting used to how you use a Mac, but we have it now. It's just loading. Just had to open the file again. Okay, I'm just maybe going to show one more feature, and then if there's any questions, please let me know. But this is essentially what I use TacticalPad for, so I don't know too much more than this. I know there's loads of wonderful things we can do. To add audio, for example, sometimes I do that on my session plans for social media. I turn them into a video. I put that video into Microsoft PowerPoint, and then I record audio over the top, and then I save it as an MP4. So that's just maybe one other thing that I do. The game in this here is going to be a scoreboard soccer game. So I'm working on overloads. So as I explained, for example, this is a kind of 3v1 using the goalkeepers. We then go into a game which is a 3v3 on the pitch. But if a player scores or they kick it out of play, so if it hits off them last, that player needs to run around the other team's goal, pass the ball in, and then play resumes. So we kind of have a 3v2 with one player running back. So it's kind of overloads and underloads for the coaches that are on the call. And I can, within this, I can bed in my coaching points, which are on my session plan, creating width, somebody going to provide length, quickly trying to penetrate before their teammates get back, making sure we're very aggressive in regards to the rebounds of the ball, being brave, being creative, trying to take players on, and trying to always run and move into space and be unpredictable. So that's what we would work on. The final game that I'm going to use for this session, some of you may be familiar with some of my scoreboard soccer, which is essentially when you score a goal or the coach just says, well done, come over to the small scoreboard over here. You get to try and complete a challenge as a kind of reward for your efforts. So let me just very quickly animate a situation here where we get a goal. And hopefully, again, this will just paint some pictures in regards to what you can use TacticalPad for and how simple it can be once you get used to it. So in scoreboard soccer, when this player scores a goal, they would now essentially be allowed to go and complete a challenge as a reward for scoring a goal, while the other team just grab the ball and the game resumes. So the challenge in this game is to grab a football from the other team's goal and try and score a goal in your goal without the ball bouncing, for example, or you can do, posting in as 2 points and things like this. This will all be explained in my full session plan. But what scoreboard soccer gives you is a good opportunity to create some overloads, because that's what we worked on within this session, and obviously defending these overloads can be part of that for that player to come back in. And the last feature I wanted to show you just very quickly, if I can just get this animation a couple of more slides. I'll just maybe do one more a little bit quicker. Okay, so this is my very quick animation on a scoreboard soccer game. So it's a 4v4. If you score, the coach says, well done for, I don't know, good teamwork, good dribbling, good creativity. You can come over and try and add a point to your scoreboard. This will all be highlighted in the session plan that I will send to everybody who is on the call. But the feature that I really like, that my players like when I'm trying to show them a game, a simple game like this, is the new kind of 8-bit feature. So what we can do, we spoke about earlier, we can watch these session plans in 3D, which would look a bit like this. I maybe need to adjust the size of the goals and the items and the players and things like this, which you can. But the feature that I think is quite cool and that some of you may use, 3D controls, settings, is this 8-bit model as well. And again, my players respond quite well to showing them this as well. When I'm just simply trying to explain a game and I show them it in this kind of fun way, they seem to understand it a little bit better. So this is just a new feature that I thought I would show. And of course, you can save this video as well. So you might hit share, save the video, and that would show you. When you're saving a 3D or an 8-bit video, as you're saving that video, so as the video is exporting, you can move the camera and it will save it as you're moving, which is a really cool thing if you can't quite fit everything into the screen. But I thought that was just a very quick way to show you the main TacticalPad features in regards to making a static session. So we design pictures and we write some text and we save those together by hitting that share button, and also an animated session, which we move it up into the animated board every time we click that frame and we move around, that's what it's going to capture. And hopefully that just gives you a very quick introduction to all the different things that we can do within TacticalPad without going into too much detail, because there are a lot of different functions to it. What I'll do now, thanks everyone, I'll stop the recording, but I'll stay on the line if anyone wants to unmute and ask me some questions, and maybe I can show them something specific to what they're looking to do with TacticalPad. But thank you for tuning in tonight, and I hope you found it useful.